Hi, you guys. Welcome back to Rocket City Yardstead. So you can see I've got this roaster out. You might notice I'm in the same clothes as the last video. I finished canning the sloppy joes and I thought I want to go swimming. So I got ready, got out on my back porch, and I heard beeping. Guys, my freezer was open and I don't know exactly how long it's been open, but there are definitely some things that are a complete loss, and there are some things that we're going to be able to salvage. It looks like, and I'll show you, that we had a basket that was full of pork products shift somehow and shoved the door open. Because when I saw it was open, I shut it really fast, made sure it was closed, went to tell my mom, and by the time I came back out, the door was open again. So I know that there are things in there that are a total loss, and we're just going to have to go through everything. But we have multiple turkeys in there. They're turkey breasts where the legs and wings and stuff have been taken off, but they still have the bone in, and they are not completely thawed. So we think we're going to be able to salvage those. So I'm going to need my roaster and my oven and maybe every jar I own, because we're going to have to can turkey. And then I put up so much fruit this year, peaches and cherries. I froze a bunch. We're going to have to check on those. I think the peaches might be goners, but I don't know about the cherries. If they're still cool at all, I think we could probably can them into like jam. But I mean, it's going to be a long night, I think. So I thought I would bring you guys along for this just because this is real life. And I'll be completely frank, it absolutely sucks. I definitely had a little boohoo because there's a lot of money and effort in that freezer. But, you know, we just got to get on with it and we got to see what we can salvage. So let's go out there and take a look. There's also stuff that's going to have to be just cleaned up as well. So let's go take a peek. You can hear we're still beeping for a high temperature alarm, but the peaches, they are a little bit cool, and so are the cherries. I just don't know. I think we might be able to make jam. We have thawed peppers that I have preserved. This is roasted cherry tomato sauce, just completely thawed, and they're in the door, so they are not salvageable. I have saved apples. This was a bag of cherry tomatoes. And look at all this liquid in there. So that's going to have to be cleaned up. Oh, I just don't know, y'all. It's kind of daunting. All of these small cuts of pork, they are not cold. I don't think we can safely do anything with them. But these turkeys are still partially frozen. And this bag of peaches is cold because of sitting on the turkeys. So I think we could make peach jam out of that. So we're just going to have to see what we can do. So you guys, the truth here is that I feel really, really overwhelmed, and I'm not 100% sure where to start. What I do know is everything in the door is warm and completely thawed. So I might as well go ahead and get this stuff out. Oh, no wonder. Somehow this bag ended up upside down. I wondered how I ended up with a drawer full. Oh, look at all these beautiful peppers from last year. Y'all, it's so sad. So I did want to show you. I found another bag of cherry tomatoes back here. They're still cold, I think because they're up against a turkey. But you can see the difference. They're partially frozen still compared to this bag. And so I think we could maybe roast these into some tomato sauce. I want to save what I can, but I also want to be realistic and not make us sick because we're trying to save stuff we shouldn't eat. These peaches that were right up at the front are definitely too warm as well. Yes, I hear. I think now that I've got stuff out of the door, we're gonna take some of these turkeys in the house because they're definitely still cold. They're partially frozen, and I am certain that we can save them. So let's go roast some turkey part way, and we're gonna can this. I have both my oven and my roaster oven preheating because I think we can do 2 of these in the roaster oven and maybe 2 in the oven. We'll have to see. I'm definitely going to have to, oh, you know what? I should shuffle things around in the oven before it gets too hot. You can actually cook turkey from frozen. These are still partially frozen, like I mentioned, but we don't need to cook them all the way through because I'm actually going to pull the meat off and can them. And so you're supposed to cook them. I think it's about 2/3 or 3/4 of the way done when you do a turkey. I'm going to bring this closer so I don't drip turkey juice everywhere. And then we'll get the turkey in there. And go on to a second one. I don't think I ever talked about this, but I like to buy turkey on sale after the holidays. Normally in like January. This year it wasn't till well into February before they went on sale. But I like to buy a bunch on clearance, put them in my freezer, and then I have them for when I want to can, and I will use turkey in place of chicken. The canning directions are the same. And with as busy as this year was with the putting the new garden and stuff in, I just hadn't gotten around to canning up a bunch of this turkey. So I have like 4 or 5 of them maybe in the freezer. We'll move this back. Oh, ow, that was already really hot. Okay, plug you in, pop the lid on here. We're just gonna let these roast. Oh, so here is the fruit that I pulled out. This is all still cold. So I think I may look and see if I have enough jalapenos and we could make some more jalapeno jam, jalapeno peach jam. I also, somebody recommended peach barbecue sauce to me, and I thought it sounded really good. And then I just didn't feel up to it, but maybe we could make some of this into peach barbecue sauce. Y'all, it's a lot. It's a lot to process. Both literally process and just mentally. Found another bag of cherries. And they are nice and cold. They're actually still a little bit frozen. Some hot dogs. They're still frozen, so I'm going to stick them in my house freezer. In the past, I have substituted turkey in the white chicken chili recipe from Ball. And so I might be able to take one of these that's a little bit more thawed and make some of that chili. I don't know about you guys. I always feel really gross after handling raw poultry, so I'm going to wash my hands a couple of times. And we will wait for that oven. It only has about 25 more degrees to go, and then these turkeys can go in there. I am grabbing a pan to take out to the freezer. We have a 10-pound bag of chicken wings that is still very cold, but definitely thawed. And we've eaten chicken wings out of it like once. So in an effort to salvage it, I have my Traeger heating up. I've never done chicken wings on the Traeger, but the ovens are occupied. The stove is about to be occupied. My mom just ran to the store to get us some pectin and some more jelly jars. And we're going to turn some of this into jam and the peach barbecue sauce I mentioned. She's also going to pick me up a couple of red bell peppers for that because I don't have any out of the garden right at this moment. They're all green right now. So while I'm waiting for her to get back to work on those, I figured we could work on chicken wings. All right, you guys, chicken wings. It tells me to dry them off. I have never done chicken wings on the Traeger, but I just don't want to let these go to waste. Some of them still are a little bit frozen and some of them are completely thawed. And so I think we're just best to cook them all. But even the ones that are completely thawed are still really cold because they were intermingled with the frozen ones. So I'm going with the recipe straight from Traeger. And it said to dry them off with a paper towel before you season them up. So I guess we're going to find out if it's any good. But I thought I'd bring you guys along. We'll see how it is. I've used my Traeger, but I haven't used it a ton. Honestly, the main reason we got a smoker was because we had pork belly in our freezer that we wanted to turn into bacon. And you guys, that pork belly, it's warm. It was right up towards the front. And so we will not be making bacon with that pork belly, which is really sad. It looks like we're going to be able to salvage a lot more than I thought we were going to be able to at first. A lot of the things that were to the back of the freezer are still really cold, even if they're not frozen. So like I have 4 pounds of ground beef and 4 pounds of lamb in there that are ground. And so I'm going to make Greek meatballs with those and cook them up, and then we'll be able to freeze it again once it's cooked. But something tells me this is going to be a very late night. It's already 5:30. Has this ever happened to any of you? I know it's the kind of thing that can happen when you have an upright freezer, but I'm always really diligent about making sure it's closed, and it never occurred to me that something inside the freezer could pop the door open. Live and learn. I think I am going to look for one of those freezer alarms that you can get that connects to Wi-Fi, and it should, if I understand correctly, it should set off an alarm on my phone. This is so many chicken wings. We're going to be eating chicken wings for days. That's okay. As long as they don't go bad and we actually get to eat them and they provide us sustenance, that's the key. And it called for cornstarch, but I can't have that. So I'm thinking maybe tapioca would work. And I do want to go check on my Traeger and make sure it's heating up correctly. Heated up correctly. I don't know if any of you have ever experienced this with a Traeger, but ours wasn't heating at one point, and just the little fan inside had stopped spinning. And the man who, the customer service man on the phone, he told me just get up underneath and like poke it with something. Sometimes it gets gunked up and doesn't spin. And that's what I did, and then it worked perfectly again. So, you know, you do what you got to do. But I'm always a little paranoid about it. All right, we're gonna sprinkle tapioca on there. This is gonna take, I think, the rest of this container of chicken rub and maybe more, but I have a few jars of this. That might be plenty. It smells good. I've only used it a few times, and I think I used it on pork because it says it's a pork and chicken rub. And then a good amount of salt. I guess just get it in here with my hands and toss it all together. Definitely gonna have to clean my cutting board underneath afterwards, but that's okay. So let's take these outside and put them on the Traeger. Get our wings on here. I hope there's room for all of these. Oh, I got chicken stuff all over my shirt. I'll have to change when I go in. I think we're gonna have to stick some on that upper shelf. I hope that's okay, but it's just gonna have to be. We can make room. I have one more wing. Okay, there we go. They say they're supposed to cook for 35 minutes, so I guess we'll see. So you guys, I am working on the peach barbecue sauce. Our 2 bags of peaches that we had in there that were still really cold, they weigh just the right amount for a double batch of the peach barbecue sauce that Ball has. And so I'm gonna make up a batch of that, or I guess a double batch of that. So I will show you guys that when it's done. I think I will go ahead and film it, and maybe some of you might be interested in seeing the process, and so we can make that a separate video. But chopping veggies and getting them ready to put in with the thawing peaches. I did put a bunch of the fruit in the freezer that is thawing, not in the freezer, in the fridge, so it stays cold. But we'll see how this all goes. I will tell you, my house smells really good. It smells a bit like Thanksgiving because of all the turkeys roasting. So that's the update right now. Working on peach jam. I just pulled the chicken wings off the Traeger, so time to give them a taste test. You want to try one? That's good. They got nice and crispy. So I do want to mention, I like my chicken wings more done than a lot of recipes call for. I want them really good and crispy on the outside. I don't like floppy skin. So I cook these about the double the time, but they're really good. A bright spot in the middle of all the chaos. So I've got the first turkey out of the oven. I'm going to see if I can stand it up, see if that'll make it easier to cut into. But I am just going to can these with salt and water. Normally, I like to can my chicken or my turkey in broth, but I don't have any right now. I used the last of my homemade broth when we made that pumpkin soup together. So needs must. Ooh, that just made a big mess. And I'm gonna can this up. Same kind of directions as when we can chicken. The cooking time and everything is the same. I have my jars sitting here with hot water in them so that there won't be too much shock when I add the turkey and hot water to my jars. And I'm just gonna chunk this into fairly decent sized chunks. Drain one of my jars. I don't know exactly how much we're gonna need. Let me see. I ran my dishwasher earlier, thank goodness. So all my canning equipment is clean. although I will have to wash it by hand to can up the peach barbecue sauce. I don't know if you can hear it. It's simmering away behind me. I don't know if you can tell, but my meat is still just a little bit pink. When you hot pack chicken, the official directions call for only partially cooking your meat and having it be a little bit underdone since you're going to can it. Now, you guys probably know, because my most popular video ever is canning rotisserie chicken, that you can do that real easy. And it comes out really nicely, even though it's fully cooked. I am 100% not a carving expert, y'all. In case you can't tell. Ooh, so hot. We do want to leave 1¼ inch headspace in our jars. I would normally let this cool a little bit before trying to handle it, but I have 4 of these that have been roasting, 1 pressure canner, and it's 8 o'clock at night. So we're just trying to get it done. I thought I would give you guys an update on where we are with trying to preserve all the food from the freezer. Peach salsa is in here canning. Not salsa, I keep saying salsa. Peach barbecue sauce. We've got a load of turkey in the pressure canner, and we still have 1 turkey in there and half of that one that we have to pull off the bone. And it's 9:30, so we're gonna have a late night. Got our roasted cherry tomato sauce off the tray and into a Ziploc bag, so this can go in the freezer, and sometime when we want some pasta, we have some ready-made sauce. It's nice to have at least this 1 bag, because I think I threw away like 4 bags of this out of the freezer. They were part of what was in the door that was all warm when we found it. So nice to at least have a little bit. Well, you guys, it is 2:45 in the morning. We have a second load of turkey in the canner. We're just waiting for the lock to drop, and then we'll be able to pull that out for the night. That's where we're going to call it. We had quite a few things that were cold enough and partially frozen enough that we found room in the fridge, and we can deal with them tomorrow. Because y'all, I'm tired. But let me show you what we got done. 18 jars of peach barbecue sauce. Here's our first batch of turkey. I already showed you the cherry tomato sauce that we put in the fridge. No, I put that in the freezer. And we cooked the chicken wings, so we were able to salvage those. And we took our turkey carcasses and have a bunch of broth cooking up that we're going to let cook overnight. So we're making progress. Tomorrow is going to be cherries. They're in the fridge. They were still nice and cold. And I'm going to make some meatballs because we had lamb and beef that were thawing. They were largely thawed, but they were still really cold and partially frozen. We have ribs we need to cook and a couple of pork chops. We did lose quite a bit, but you know, it could have been worse. So I guess I'll see you guys in the morning when it's time. In the morning, like it's not morning now. I'll see you later in the morning when it's time to work on some more of the things that we're trying to salvage from the freezer. Good morning, you guys. Not quite bright-eyed and bushy-tailed today, but having a nice hot beverage and preparing for a whole lot more food preservation. But I thought I would show you because I was very excited about this. It was a bright spot in the last couple of days. I learned that Nut Pods froth with a frother. I've never owned a frother, but we ordered a really cheap one from Amazon. It came yesterday. Today's the first day I got to use it. And look at this. Here, let me show you. That's how much is in there right now. Let's see. Look how beautifully the nut pod froths up. I'm so excited. This is for my mom. I made her some real coffee. Let me tell you, I wish I could have some real coffee with some caffeine in it today, but I don't tolerate it very well. So we'll drink my herbal coffee and I'll smell her real coffee. But we're going to drink our hot beverages and then we're going to get into more preservation. So you guys, I am getting ready to make Greek meatballs. I add 4 pounds each of ground lamb and ground beef that were really cold. Some of them still were partially frozen, but too far thawed for my liking to just put them back in the freezer. So I think it'll be better to make something with them, cook it up, and then they can go in the freezer. This may be more than I wanted to do all at one time in the span of a couple of days, but a lot of it is stuff that kind of needed to be done anyway, just maybe on a more slow pace than what I'm having to do. But I love these meatballs. They have onions and garlic and lots of Greek seasoning, and feta goes in them. I'm going to use some of the dairy-free feta that we have found that we really like. So I will link to a recipe that's really similar to this. That's sort of the base that I start with. But I also have a video where I made these. So I'm not going to go into super detail here, but I can link that video in case any of you are interested. I'm trying to look at this whole situation as, what's the word I want here? It's definitely meal prep. Like, these are going to be foods that we can dig into and enjoy having easily accessible. Don't have to make them. But I guess I'm just looking at it as like enforced meal prep. And I'd actually been thinking about making some of these meatballs, but it was not going to make them in this quantity. So now we'll just have a bunch of something we really like in the freezer. Thought I would show you guys. We have 2 trays with 35 meatballs each going into the oven. It's tray number 2. And that's about half the meat mixture. Now that the meatballs are all done, I'm going to move on to the cherries. They were still partially frozen yesterday. They are fully thawed today. Ooh, there is a pit that I missed. That is not something we want in our jam. So my plan with the cherries is to make a few, maybe 2 or 3 different cherry jams. One of them is a no sugar added. It uses like an erythritol sweetener. My mom kind of bounces back and forth between being pre-diabetic and not pre-diabetic. And so she really watches her sugar. And so even though this will have quite a bit of natural sugar in it, if we can avoid that added sugar, she's very excited about the prospect of a no sugar added jam. So everything I've read said if you're making jam from frozen fruit with cherries, you should pull the cherries out and leave the liquid. So that is what I'm going to do. They actually said thaw the cherries. So we're going to follow those directions. I've never made cherry jam before, but we'll see how this goes. But for the recipe that my mom is so excited about, it calls for 4 cups of cherries. It also calls for cherry juice, so we can use some of the juice for that as well. But this is the next project on my list. I've got to be real with you guys. I am so tired. I just don't function well on only 4-ish hours of sleep. And multitasking is just completely out the window today. I thought earlier I would try and do this while the meatballs were cooking, and I just don't have the mental capacity. So we'll just do the best we can. I think I'm going to get out a chopper for these and chop them finer in a machine chopper because it calls for chopped. But so I will show you finished product. Maybe some of you might be interested in this no sugar jam, so maybe I will film that as a separate video too. This is a whole weird dynamic today, you guys. I don't know these last couple days, but I feel like some of these things are things some of you might be interested in, but documenting the trying to preserve all of this stuff in a short amount of time thing is not a good place for detailed tutorials. So I think we'll try and turn this one into a separate video too, but I will show you what the cherry jam comes out like. Well, you guys, I thought I would give you an update on what else has gotten done today after the meatballs. So I currently have a batch of the no sugar added cherry jam in the canner. Mom loved that, and so I'm making a second batch of that. In between those two batches, I made a double batch of lower sugar jam. It still was a lot of sugar in my opinion, but I ended up with 12 jars of that. Here we'll come over and you can see. Here are the first 4 jars of her no sugar added cherry jam. And then this has taken me hours actually, but then here on the stove, I used all of the cherry juice that was left over, and we are making cherry syrup that we can can up. So once that's done and I get it canned up, I think I'm going to call it for the day. I looked it up and my chicken broth says that it can simmer at 200 degrees for like 36 hours. So that'll be like tomorrow morning. I will get up and I'll can that. But between yesterday and today, I am exhausted. There are definitely things in the fridge still that are hopefully still going to be good tomorrow. Most of them were still partially frozen, and so I think they should be fine one more day. But we'll obviously look at them, give them the sniff test, make sure everything's still okay before we do anything with those. But I have just sort of reached my limit. So that's an important thing, right? We got to know our limits. So I will see you guys again tomorrow when we try and save some more of that stuff from the freezer. Good morning, you guys. Day 3 of preserving things from that freezer. So we're getting some broth into the canner. This is my 7th quart. I'm popping it in here. It's beautiful. This broth turned out so gorgeous. And I actually put some in my mug this morning to drink because I was a little bit nervous about how long I let it cook, but it's perfect. And it's got that gorgeous, beautiful color on it. So we're going to get this canned up. I'm going to have to run to the store for some ingredients, but there are a couple of other things that I want to can and not just do straight broth. There's a recipe I really love that's a chicken chili verde, and we have some chicken we can use that's still looking good. I have another turkey in the fridge that I'm going to roast up, and I think we'll probably turn it into some kind of soup because I have plenty of just plain canned turkey now. I have 13 quart jars and a pint jar of just plain turkey. That will last us for a really long time. So I'd rather have like a ready-made meal than just an ingredient. So I'm going to do a little looking and see what I can figure out. But first, we'll get this canner load canned, and I think I'm going to have some of my herbal coffee. So I will see you guys back here when we move on to the next step. All right. The canner has its weight on, so that broth is going. Now we're going to get these pork chops into my slow cooker. I'm trying to think here. I don't want to lay them down because I already opened them. But I found a recipe. It used like store-bought, I think condensed French onion soup, but I have homemade French onion soup. I have a video for that too if you guys are interested, but really I'm just trying to make things easy on myself. So we are going to go ahead and get some of that in there. Oh man, it smells so good, you guys. And then we're going to slow cook these pork chops in this French onion soup all day. I actually didn't realize there were 4 pork chops. So this will be a couple of meals for us. That'll be nice. But we're going to slow cook them in this French onion soup all day. And then it recommended mixing in some sour cream. I have some dairy-free yogurt that I think we could maybe mix in there and then serve these over some mashed potatoes. I think would be really good. So I'm just going to turn this onto low and forget about it for now. Can just do the work for me. Y'all, I was looking for those ribs and I found another pack of 2 pork chops. So we'll be eating a lot of pork chops here in the near future. Well, you guys, I thought we had some ribs to cook, but I have dug through the fridge and I think we must have decided they were too far thawed. So I can't find them. It's kind of hard to keep track of everything because honestly, there was a lot of stuff that had to go in the trash. I've mostly been trying to focus on the things we can save. My mom and I were talking about that, and it's just kind of depressing to think about what you had to throw away, but focusing on the positive of it is helpful. So I do have this small pork loin that also needs to be cooked, and you can buy pork loin chops. And so I thought, just to make things easier on myself, I'm going to cut this into chops and add it to our French onion soup pork chop mixture over there. And I think we could freeze some of this after it's all cooked up and then just have leftovers that we can pull out and reheat easily. So that is maybe not what I would normally do with this, but it's one less thing to have to think about. And I think it's going to be delicious. Wash my hands, get the lid off so I can put those pork chops in there. I may need to add another jar of soup once I put those in there and see how it's doing. Oh, that water is hot. My poor hands, my eczema has flared really badly with all the hand washing these last few days. All right, let's grab these. Get them nestled down in here. I don't think I'm going to have to add any more soup because the pork will put off its own juice, and those are pretty decently in there. So one more piece of meat taken care of. Slowly but surely, we're plugging away at it. All right, you guys, I did an inventory of the poultry that I have. I took the turkey off of the carcass so that I could weigh exactly how much meat I have. I have 2 bowls like this that weigh about 2 pounds each. And I also have 2 pounds of chicken. So with 2 pounds of the turkey and the 2 pounds of chicken, we're going to make chicken dinner in a jar. I think that's what it's called. No, chicken and gravy. And then we're also going to make chicken chili verde. So those are excellent because I can put those in the canner at the same time. They'll both go in pint jars. They'll cook for the same amount of time, and there's plenty of room in the canner. And so it kind of gives me a 2-for-1. They're also both raw pack recipes. And then with the other 2 pounds of turkey, I'm going to make a tortilla soup recipe I found that's actually from the California extension and has canning directions. So we're going to get a lot of prepared meals out of this meat, which I'm very excited about. Plus, I stuck the carcass in a pot with a bunch of water and some carrots and onion, peppercorns, salt and vinegar. And so we're going to get a whole bunch more broth as well. I just want to make sure we're using everything to get the most from it we can. I did have to run to the store and buy some ingredients. I was very grateful the lady carded me when I had to buy a bottle of white wine for the chicken and gravy recipe. So yeah, I'm going to get to work on these things. I think some of you have already seen the video where I said I was thinking about making a series of like ready-made meals, and these 3 things that I'm getting ready to make are ready-made meals. So I think we're gonna make those into separate videos for you guys, and I'll show you what all we have once we're done. I thought I would give you guys a quick update before my battery dies. So I just dished up some of the pork chops and served it over rice. It tastes really good. Let's see, it is 8:20 at night. I got some meals in a jar canned. We did get that 7 quarts of broth canned. Over there, you can see the canners running. There is tortilla soup in the canner, and I have chicken broth that still needs to be canned. My goal is to get that done tonight, and then we will be finished. So that's the update for tonight. So you guys, here is everything we managed to save, with the exception of the chicken wings. We ate those for dinner for 3 nights this week. And they were delicious. So I'm really glad we were able to save those. But let's see. I want to show you the frozen stuff first so we can get it back in the freezer. We got 1 quart of roasted cherry tomato sauce. I did not end up filming this when I went through and was editing. And so I do have a video where I make this, and I can link that below in case any of you are interested. But we actually ended up with 112 of the Greek meatballs, so that's fantastic. So then we have this sizable container of the pork chops and French onion soup. This turned out really delicious, so I'm glad to have this. I do need to portion it out and put part of it in the freezer because I don't think we want to sit down and eat 12 pork chops worth of pork chops just back to back. That was most of the pork we were able to save out of the freezer. Most of the pork was in small cuts and close to the front, and it just got way too warm. And so we did have to throw away a lot of pork, which was really sad, but look at all this food that we did save. So there are 14 quarts of turkey broth. There are 7 pints of the no sugar added jam for my mom. We had 2 jars total on all of this, not seal. One of them was a no sugar jam and one of them was a low sugar jam. So we put both of those in the fridge, but I pulled them out because I wanted to show you. They set beautifully. So let's see, this is the no sugar at all. And it's just a really lovely texture. And then, since we're looking at it, the low sugar, you can definitely tell a difference in the texture between the two, but they set up beautifully. So pulling the juice off of the thawed cherries was definitely the right call. Now let's see. I went ahead and included the sloppy joes on this table because I made them the day we discovered the freezer and canned a whole bunch of this stuff. So they feel a little bit like they belong here as far as the work goes. Here are our cherry syrups. We got 4 half pints and 2 pints of that. Plus I got to put some in the fridge. And I don't know if I filmed it for you guys. It's delicious. I put some in my lemon lime poppy and it made it taste like a cherry limeade. So I'm very excited to have those. Here we have tortilla soup. Y'all, there was just a little bit of this left, maybe half a cup that didn't fit in these jars. And so we just drank that broth and it was so fantastic. I don't even have to open one of these jars to know that we will want to make it again. So here is all of the low sugar jam. We have 11 jars that's sealed and one that's in the fridge. Then here we have our chicken chili verde. We have 4 jars of that, 4 jars of our chicken and gravy. This stuff you just add a little bit of thickener to when you heat it up to make it a gravy consistency. We have, I think at one point I said I had 13 quarts. I have 12 quarts of just plain canned turkey that we'll be able to use in various applications, and then 1 pint jar. And then the last thing is 18 jars of peach barbecue sauce. Y'all, I love this. It is something I would 100% make again. So we tried some new things this time, like the tortilla soup and the peach barbecue sauce, just trying to make something out of the mess, basically. And I think we found all winners. So yes, it's a bummer to have something like this happen. Yes, I am very exhausted, but I feel so good about the fact we were able to save all of this. And now we've got a bunch of stuff on our pantry shelves that are going to make our lives easier. So, you know, looking for the silver lining here. So I did want to say, I filmed multiple videos kind of in between making this freezer video. I filmed making the cherry barbecue sauce. I filmed doing these 2 chicken dinners in a jar as a video. I filmed the tortilla soup and all of the cherry products, the no sugar added jam, the low sugar jam, and the syrup. And so those will all be videos that are coming out soon if you're interested in those. So just maybe a little bit of a sneak preview. But thank you for hanging out with me today. If you happen to have a recommendation for a freezer alarm, I would be really interested. I've been looking into them, but we definitely want to prevent this from happening again. And yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time. Bye.